You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered, and this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't gonna be that fun. Hey everybody, it's Doug Collins. Welcome back to the Doug Collins Podcast. We are glad you're with us. Thanks for all that you do. Go to DougCollinsPodcast.com. Click on that subscribe button, or you can send me an email right there. Those emails come directly to me, and I would love to hear from you as you go forward about anything about the episodes, anything about our guest, anything about the the books and everything that's been offered here recently. We want you to know about that as we go forward. Today, we got an old friend of the program, a good friend of mine, Bruce Thompson, and Bruce is our labor commissioner here in Georgia. He is got a lot of personal story. Many of you have heard this because I've actually mentioned it before. He's going through some treatments for cancer right now, but at the same point, he's still kicking rear and doing what he needs to do in the state office, and also being a good voice for our election cycle coming up as well. So I wanted to get a good update from Bruce, let you hear from him, and just what all's going on here in Georgia. So with that, we will be right back after the commercial break, come back, and we'll hit it up with our friend Bruce Thompson. We are experiencing instability at every level. Our government lacks leadership, and Bidenomics has been a disaster. The economy is in a fragile state. Inflation has been a consistent issue. High interest rates have put significant pressure on the real estate market, and there have been major bank failures, and many analysts say a stock market correction is likely overdue. We have global conflicts in Europe and the Middle East that have potential to spread, but gold has soared to record highs even among the tensions. There are so many reasons that Americans should consider investments in gold and silver, and Legacy Precious Metals is the gold standard. I love Legacy Precious Metals because of their zero-hassle, education-first approach. They can help you roll your traditional IRA into a gold IRA or ship metals directly to your house. That's what I do. So go to www.legacypminvestments.com to download their free gold investment guide. And look, I've read it. You need to read it. There's so much valuable information in there. So, friends, now's the time to not roll the dice with your hard-earned money. Find out about the growth potential that gold and precious metals can offer you. Contact Legacy Precious Metals today and tell them that Doug Collins sent you. Hey, inflation's at a 40-year high. The stock market looks more uncertain than ever. The new central bank digital currency is on its way and could be the government's ultimate surveillance tool against Americans. It looks like the government is playing games with your savings and retirement. So what are you going to do to help protect yourself? Did you know that you can have physical gold and silver into your IRA or 401k with zero tax or penalties? Millions of Americans are doing this right now for protection, and you should think about it too. A company I trust and recommend is Preserve Gold. They will go all over your options and make sure the process of acquiring precious metals is simple and easy. So if you're looking to help protect your retirement with a trustworthy company, request your free investment guide from the experts at Preserve Gold. Preserve Gold is accredited by the Better Business Bureau, and they have hundreds of 5-star reviews, so you know that you're in good hands. Just text Collins, Collins, to 50505. And an exclusive offer for my listeners, they'll get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualifying purchase on a retirement account rollover. So don't wait. Text Collins to 50505 today and get your free gold and silver investment guide and take the first step. Again, text Collins to 50505 to get your free guide from the good people at Preserve Gold. You might have heard Mike Lindell and MyPillow no longer have the support of the box stores or the shopping channels the way they used to. They've been part of the cancel culture, so they want to pass the savings directly on to you by having a $25 extravaganza. When Mike started MyPillow, it was just one product company. With the help of his dedicated employees, they now have hundreds of products. Some of you may not even know about that. So to get the word out, I want to invite my listeners to check out the $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-pillow use MyPillows are just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. There's 6-pack of towel sets, $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels. You guessed it, just $25. And for the first time ever, the MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, just $25. All orders over $75 will see free shipping too. This amazing offer won't last long, so go to mypillow.com and use the promo code Collins, that's COLLINS, or call 800-986-3994 today. That's promo code Collins. All right, Bruce. Hey, buddy, how we doing?
We're doing good. We really are.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad you're out. Give everybody an update because we have sort of kept it up to date. We've talked about it a little bit on our social media. We've talked about it on the program before with you and your situation right now with the health. If you don't mind, if you would give some folks an update on that.
Yeah. As you know, back in March, surprisingly diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And when you hear that, it's not good. 70,000 people in the United States every year get it, and only about 55% of those never make it. So when you hear that, it's not good news. But I will tell you, Doug, we serve a Lord and Savior up above that, man, he is the healer. He is the guy that makes all those decisions. I have taken 7 treatments of chemo. It's the strongest chemo they can give. It was approved in February. And this last Monday, we did an updated CT scan. Normally, they first want to just stop the growth, the rapid growth. That's first and foremost. Then they want to try and focus on how do you shrink it. In my case, it stopped growing. The liver has already cleaned itself up. The pancreas has already shrunk as much as, they're trying to get the exact numbers, could be as much as half just in 7 treatments. So
That's
we
right.
we don't know how many total treatments, but we'll do a PET scan after 10 to be a little more in depth. But it's a butt kicker. So for a shout out to everybody that's taking chemo. But I know one thing, you got to fight. And when you fight, the man upstairs hears the prayers, good things happen.
Amen. Amen. That's what we want to hear, and we'll keep praying for that, Bruce, and see this thing through. Now, turning to things that are a little bit more, we've had you on the show a few times, but this is really a 2-year update. I want to give you, because we talked a lot in your campaign, and we've talked since then as well, but you're now about 2 years into the term, and you had a lot of things going on in the Labor Department. Georgia Department of Labor was, I'll be generous and say, a mess, not necessarily because of the workers, but because of a lack of leadership. There was a definite lack of leadership and trust, not only from the former commissioner, but also for the former administrations and everything as well. How are we coming? I know you had a lot of ideas, some changes to be made, and give everybody an update, because I always love to hear how people get elected and then they actually do what they talk about.
So you're right, Doug. We came in, it was a dumpster fire. We had all kinds of issues going on. It took us about 6 weeks to identify $104 million that was hidden in there. So we had to figure out how to get that to the General Assembly without having the feds come down on us too heavy. So that was a tightrope to walk. Then we started working on a culture. Got to get your arms around your culture to be able to really execute on your initiatives. That's really where we have really shined. I will tell you, I outlined a business plan. We're a year ahead of plan. I'll give you some of those. So we got a $700,000 grant to do a mobile unit in our state, meaning when we have a catastrophe somewhere, especially in South Georgia, many times you can't help those people immediately. So we have a mobile unit. The feds gave us some money. It's one of the few in the country that will be able to deploy within 4 hours, full operational shop. Second is walking the last mile. It was a dear tenet of what I was campaigned on, and said we need to be going in and taking those incarcerated and making sure they reintegrate and they get these jobs. And we got a lot of, well, you can't, and so on, Doug. I'm one of those guys that don't believe in can't. I'll tell you, we got our first class that went through. We had 100% placement of the, I'll call them students, of the reentry. And we just got a $4 million grant, first of its kind in the United States, for a state entity, for them to allow us to expand that. Our modernization is already underway, where we're taking the antiquated system that's 28 years old. It's already being done in your process. We got the funding for that. We've done some consolidation with career centers, 5 of them that we only had. One of them only had 40 people a week walk in, but you and I as taxpayers were paying $1 million a year on rent. So a lot of things being done. A lot of people said you can't do it, but I said we're going to do it. We're going to operate it like a private sector business, and that's what we're doing.
Well, Bruce, I mean, look, that's the thing that makes people trust government again. And I think and we'll get into this maybe a little bit later, this issue of trusting And because I believe that it is a trust, and I think the government has a place, a limited place, but it has a place. We don't operate without it. But I think one of the things is, have you found, as we talked about early on, there had been this erosion of trust in the department. I mean, I think federally and everything else with this. First year, they're just going to accept you that, hey, okay, I hear what Bruce's saying. Let's just see if he does it. Well, you're 2 years in now. You had 2 General Assemblies to deal with. Have you noticed especially in this year's assembly with Speaker Burns, with the Lieutenant Governor, and others, did you notice a more receptiveness to your budget ideas, to your any legislation ideas that you have, because you had built up what you said you were going to
do? Time really helps build trust, but the reality is I came out of the General Assembly.
Right.
Many of them are the ones that wanted me to run. Both the appropriation chairmen were 2 of the first people that wrote checks to me to do it. So all I had to do was say, all right, you know what I'm capable of doing based on my history. Give me a year to prove that we can do this. And so you're right. We got a year under our belt. And I mean, I don't mind saying it. The last day of session, the 2 appropriations in the House and Senate, of course, you need our Speaker, John Burns, and our Lieutenant Governor, Burt Jones, to be able to do it. But they issued $4 million at my discretion saying, go do what you need to do because you've proven yourself. To me, nothing speaks louder than that, going, they trust me with that. I'm not going to waste taxpayer money. We're going to be lean, but we're going to get some stuff done.
Well, that is true. Now, one of the things that happened at labor that nobody really talked about in Georgia, I mean, the political press did, it wasn't a thing that they want to talk about, but there was removal of some of the things that were under Department of Labor by previous administrations, some of the focuses that they had. I know there's probably not been a lot of change in that, but what is your core function now? And have you been able to maybe make inroads into some of the things that were taken away that do still need that labor interest in it?
Yeah. So you're right. $50 million. So about almost half of our budget attached to a thing called Wagner-Pizer, which is workforce development, was taken away and put with the Technical College of Georgia. It's the only time in the history. There's no other state that has attempted that. I've got a great relationship with Commissioner Dozier over there, but I still of the belief that it belongs at Department of Labor so that you don't have the separation. The handoff, we're doing the best we can. We work together, but I call it the great experiment. I think one day down the road, it will either migrate back or it will morph into something else. But it has made it very, very difficult. And frankly, as a private sector conservative, I don't like duplicity. It's a waste of money. And when you take these programs that are designed to be a part of and you separate them out, you create duplicity. Well, duplicity is a waste of taxpayer money, in my opinion. But we don't have a contentious relationship with the college or with Greg Dozier. We have a good working relationship. We're going to do the best we can. The legislature and the governor spoke when they took it away, and we're going to do the best we can with it. Now, within that, walking the last mile is part of a workforce development that we were not doing. It wasn't part of Wagner-Pizer, so we stood that up. We believe we're going to be able to take 1,000 people a year, and instead of 50% of those being back in prison within 2 years, we're going to have a success rate that's going to be far greater. And we're putting families back together. We're not just teaching them the hard skills. That's being done. We're taking soft skills. We're teaching them how to interact, how to handle a confrontation, all the things that were necessary when you hire somebody. It's one thing to have a skill. It's another to know how to deal with people. And that's really what we're focused on.
That's perfect. Look, you know my heart and what I've done in criminal justice reform and stuff, that it has nothing to do with taking away from public safety, taking away from police, but it has everything to do with the fact that 95% of the people who go to jail at some point come home. And the question is what do you do when they come home? If they have nothing to come home and we isolate them as if they were, useless, is a word to look at, then they're going to have to, the only thing they can do is reoffend. That's just really where it's going to be. And I don't believe God intends us to look at anybody, they hold us accountable. But, it's something that we offer. They have to accept. They have to offer hope. Another issue that, and I'm not sure, and I just forgive my little bit of an ignorance here. I have a special place in my heart for the vocational rehab down at Warm Springs. And is that I know there was some discussion about that at some point, moving developmental services or others sort of in and out of Department of Labor. How does that sit now? I have a daughter who went through it a couple of times, and she's a full-time employee at Northeast Georgia Medical Center now. It's really a valuable program, and just want to curious, what's the take on that now?
So the GVRA was one of the first programs they took away from the previous administration as a, you can lead with a heart or lead with a stick. And General Assembly and former Governor Deal and Governor Kemp felt like they needed to stick because it just was not getting a response from the leadership. So that rests GVRA as a standalone right now. There's a lot of discussion about if we can get our house completely in order, and we're well on our way, maybe there's an opportunity for us to be able to do the same thing. They're not functioning like they should.
Right.
I will tell you, it's not very efficient. And I have a special place in my heart for people that are have special needs. My son was diagnosed with severe ADHD and a touch of Asperger's. He does very, very well, but it's just a little harder for some individuals. And if we can give that focus, we need the workforce, Doug.
Yep.
And this is one of those times we can't turn a blind eye, whether it be people that are re-entering or people that have special needs. We need all hands on deck if we want a roaring economy to continue.
Exactly. Well, to separate them from DOL, and again, I understood why. Don't get me wrong. I understood why they did it. It was between the poor leadership and the previous commissioner and others. I get it, but it's hard to train some people to be self-sufficient and separate them from the very department that would be to help them get a job. And I think
right.
that. I would love if you need. I'm publicly on the podcast here. You need my help testifying at in the General Assembly. Anything to help with that? Call me. I'll be there. I just think it's something that just needs to be done, and with right leadership under a man like you, I see that happening going forward. How do you see the state of Georgia's employment right now? And I want you to classify that not as just in Georgia, but in the nation as well. One of the things, and just a little while ago, there was the debate, and we're still in the presidential campaign and all this going on. But people have a perception, reality, I call it, perception is reality, about the job market, our inflations, issues like that. How are you seeing Georgia as in comparison to your colleagues in other states? And what do you see, where do you see it going?
Well, I mean, we've all heard this before, but I think Georgia's playing it out. Leadership matters. And under Governor Deal and Governor Kemp and the General Assembly, the investments that were made in our state, I think are playing out right now. And that's why we have a 3.1 to 3.2 unemployment rate, which is much, much better than many, many other states. Unfortunately, we have so many opportunities. We just don't have the people to fill it. Our Achilles heel, in my opinion, is going to be traffic and transportation. At some point, Doug, if we don't get this solved, companies are not going to be willing to come here because they can't move their goods or their people. And that's not a quick fix, as you know, because you've served not only just in Congress, but in General Assembly.
Yep.
We got to get our arms around that. Our economy right now is robust, but it's also vulnerable in some areas that it could quickly turn. We've invested heavily in EV. I have my personal opinions on whether or not we should have gone all in with EV or not. I think some of the comments I made that got me a little in trouble are now coming to fruition. We're ahead of the game. The question's really going to be, can we sustain continuing to invest in a vertical that really could be another 7 to 10 years away from getting to a point where it's normalized? Because you're building the plants, you're building this, but if people are not buying the goods and the infrastructure is not there, what do you do with those plants when nobody's buying their goods?
Exactly. Well, look, you're not off, and I'll take a little bit more heat here. I mean, you have a plant that the state has invested millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars into, in which we have no out on, and we have a company that's never really sold a product. And again, I don't believe. I think the economy is what people are going to buy. EVs. We have a hybrid. My wife and I have a hybrid. She loves it. She just goes around town, so it fits for her. I don't. I have my F-250 diesel, and that's what I use. But but the market always determines this. It always does. I don't care what market you're in. So again, you're training people for jobs that may or may not exist in some of those areas. I want to go back to something you and I've talked about briefly before, but I think we've expanded on it. Labor and education to me are, they're just the same. I mean, you can't get one without the other. I know you talked about the college and career academies. I think that came out of previous administration as well. I'd love to, give me a little bit more about what's happening there. That was a good thing. I'm not sure how much it's doing now, but also has there been more of maybe a co-development between the school systems in Georgia, which most people don't understand are basically separate. They have a superintendent of education, but they don't control the individual school districts. Getting back to because Georgia's an economy, you talked about transportation and building. Right now, some of our best paid employees in the state of Georgia are not white collar people. They're plumbers and electricians and other places because they're in such high demand. How do you see that playing out, Bruce?
Well, one of the things right now happening in Georgia is the national skills contest that's happening right here down at the World Congress Center, where you're taking high schoolers and allowing them to compete for the trades. The more that these schools will refocus on taking these individuals at a young age and helping them understand that your hands and feet and your mind is really a gift that needs to be utilized. Plumbing, electrical, carpentry, welding. Doug, some of these take a certification that's less than 6 months, and you start at 65 to 80 grand. Now, I don't know why we would push people towards food and hospitality when, frankly, we know that vacuum right now is not going away. It's only expanding. So I think some schools have really bought into it. In North Georgia, you've got some superintendents that have bought into reintroducing the shop class into some of the schools. I think that's a great thing to do. You've got some other schools and superintendents that just haven't bought into it, and they believe that they need to still be teaching you basket weaving and all that other kind of stuff that, frankly, you're not equipping these people to, when they get out, to be able to go and provide for themselves, let alone their family. And that's a great disservice because from a labor standpoint, you could see a disproportionate number of minorities that just aren't able to take care of their families because we haven't invested in it. And many of those are going to school in these school districts where you don't have leadership that's willing to invest in what really the future is.
I couldn't agree. As you know, and you got multiple kids. I have 3 kids as well. I'm so proud of each and every one of them. They're all different. My daughter, has spina bifida. She works at a hospital. She works in our graduate medical. She's a receptionist. I have one son who works in politics and he does computers. And then I have another son who I'm extremely proud of because he can do stuff that I can't do and still smarter than I am. And he works on HVAC. He's actually down in Florida, and he works on HVAC stuff. And he came out of an international baccalaureate kind of program. He picked this stuff up on his own. I'm proud of Copeland and Cameron and Jordan, but they all have different skills. And I think if in just my little family world can't see that we need a variety of educational options, it's frustrating to me that professional educators are still stuck to that model that everybody's sort of the same. And it's concerning because now we've taken away even those who said, well, they're not, quote, going to college. Well, you took away their shop class. You took away their ag class. You took away their electrical class. I mean, I had a superintendent one time say, well, we can graduate high school with an LPN. Great. Why can't we graduate with a journeyman electrical license? I mean,
that's right.
I mean, why not?
There is no reason we can't. It just takes leadership. I mean, obviously we're in an election year, and frankly, if we want to governmentize more and more and turn Georgia into California, well, then the elections have consequences. And the reality of it is we need more entrepreneurial spirit, and it needs to go clear into the schools, not institutionalized through some book that's trying to teach these kids or young people skills that, frankly, will not be beneficial to them, will not put food on the table. When you start paying college, when kid gets a debt in college, and now we just write that off. That doesn't teach them anything about responsibility and how to handle money. Instead, we should be teaching that in school alongside these soft skills and hard skills, but also how to be responsible. The parents haven't done it. Where are they going to pick it up at, Doug?
Right.
We can't keep taking the government, making that be the answer. Yep. The government can't even deliver freaking mail, for goodness sakes.
Oh my God! Hey, I've joked about this. I am an attorney, and I've sort of racked my brain here recently. I want to start a class action lawsuit against the U.S. Federal Post Office because, like my dad and others, we help pay. Yeah, I'll sign you up because I mean, how many times is some people like my dad? He still uses the mail. We've not transitioned. He don't want to transition. He likes to still go put his mail in the mailbox. He's 80-something years old, and we've had late fees, bills that didn't come in, and the post office could care less. It's like, no, you're costing the economy right now. And it's sad. Bruce, if you have
if you're a private sector company doing that, they'd shut you down. Oh,
in a heartbeat. All right. You're halfway into this side. What's we're going to have you on more as the election comes. I want your knowledge on what we got elections coming up. But tell me, what's the next big thing? What are y'all working in Georgia? For those who don't know, we have a legislative session. It's very short. It's 40 days, technical legal days. So you typically runs from January till about the 1st of April. The rest of the time is the government just sort of operates on its own with some oversight with the budget committee. But this is the time when you prepare your next big thing. What you working on now? What's that next big push after you solidified some stuff here? Where do you think the next push is, Bruce?
So I'm working on something right now that's crazy. I keep sounding like I'm picking on my predecessor, but I am. We own a compound. Basically, it's a 1 square block. It's the Department of Labor. We have our career center there. We have our there. We got about 600 employees. And then we have another building. And after I got elected and went in, I'm like, so tell me about this building. Well, it seems that we did a land lease with someone that built a nightclub on our property. Now, think about this, Doug. It's a nightclub. It's a nightclub that's on a government piece of property. Now, I don't have anything against the nightclubs. It's not for me. So we found out that the landlord and their tenant are in a major lawsuit because, surprise, surprise, the club owner has not been paying the landlord. Fortunately, we're still getting, shocker. We're still getting our money in the land lease. When we dig into it and went to see the property and get in there last week, and for your viewers, I won't describe too much, but the light will come on. We came in the front door, and to the right, it's very dark. They have 8 shower stalls that are independent. Now, why do you need shower stalls in a nightclub? You go upstairs and they have private rooms. Why do you have a nightclub? Now, they got full kitchens and so on. That's happening on that property. What my main priority is right now, and I've told my chief legal officer, figure out how to acquire that property and let's turn it into a reentry facility where we're taking incarcerated individuals and we're taking all these other government agencies that's strung all over the state, put them in with one desk, representative, bring them in, and we can get them signed up for all of the things that they qualify for with accountability, and then we can monitor the progress. That would be a good utilization of a building versus having a nightclub where, frankly, girls and things are happening should not be happening.
Bruce, I can't be more proud. That's one of the best things I've ever heard. In fact, I'm going to be on the phone later today talking to some of my friends in the national criminal justice groups that actually help and anything I can push this way. You just know that we're going to do it. I can't, again, times you get behind people and people you become friends with that support you and I support you and you support me in political campaign goes beyond friendship. We're praying for you to get better, but also I couldn't be more proud of my commissioner of labor here in the state of Georgia, who's actually taking an interest in the real people. And that's such a refreshing thing here. Folks, if you're listening to this all over the country, one, you can't have him. He's ours. But you can always call him and get some ideas about how y'all can help in your own states. Bruce, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you a bunch.
Doug, love you and your family and can't wait to be with you soon.
Look forward to it, my friend. Take care. Folks, that's it for the Doug Collins Podcast. We'll see you next time.